Aloha, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar and what promises to be a really exciting discussion that we're having. My name is Kuʻulani Keohokalole, and I'm the owner of People Strategies Hawaiʻi. And I'm just really excited to introduce and be talking story today with two of my friends, Hiʻilani Shibata and Georgianna DeCosta. And thank you so much for everybody making the time. You know, I know it's 4:30 on a Friday. There's many things you could be doing. We were joking that we're competing with happy hour right now. So thank you for making the time. It's really just going to be more of a just talk story. Imagine it kind of like podcast style. So, you know, we're going to ask, you can turn off your video, turn off your mic, and just sit back and enjoy. And if you have questions, comments, things you want to discuss with us, please go ahead and use your chat feature. I want to introduce Brian Garris, who's our tech support for today. Brian, you want to wave to everybody and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My information, if you need any help with tech support, is in the chat feature, so feel free to give me an email or give me a call. If everybody wouldn't mind going ahead and muting your video and your microphone, we are going to have a Q&A portion at the end, and we'll go from there.
Mahalo, Brian. So again, mahalo, Hiʻilani and Georgie. Thanks so much for joining me. I want to ask you guys to just give a very short bio about yourselves. So Hiʻilani, can we start with you?
Sure. Well, first of all, I am actually from Hilo, but I've been living in Honolulu, over 20 years now. I'm a mother, and currently I am a kumu at Ke Kulo Samuel Manaia Kalani Kamakau Hawaiian Focused Charter School, but this is actually my last year. And it was really great being in the classroom. But I also am the lead cultural trainer for the Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association, which is an organization that has been around for over 20 years. And its mission is to make sure that we have authentic Hawaiian culture in our visitor industry. So it's that work has been a focus of mine recently, just because of our opportunity to make some really great improvements on our visitor industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And mahalo, Hiʻilani. And Georgie, how about you?
Aloha, everyone. I'm Georgianna DeCosta. I am a Kaneohe girl, so we're having windward conversations here today. My family's been here in Windward, Oahu for many generations, and I am also very privileged to serve as the Windward Oahu Program Officer for the Harold Castle Foundation. And in that work, I get to do community building and grant making between Makapu'u and Kahuku, and work and play with a lot of wonderful people, including these two ladies. And through that, it's just an amazing experience to see the wonders of our community. And so that's what I'm interested to talk about today. Thank you.
Absolutely. I love what both of you said. Hiʻilani talked about this really being an opportunity, and you were talking about wonders of our community. And that basically is the synopsis of what we're talking about today. This kind of organically came about as Georgie and I had a conversation, I think on Facebook last week, really talking about all the things that we've seen come up in our community in a response to the pandemic. And you know, we hear the word resilience a lot, you know, it's kind of thrown around, but there really are true stories of resilience happening in our community. So with that, thank you for introducing yourselves. So today's topic is lessons from our island community, stories of resilience during COVID-19. So I want to start there because we're in week 8, 9, feels like week million of this, you know, global pandemic. And we've kind of gone through this roller coaster of emotions. You know, I think in the beginning when we first found out about it, maybe there was some denial, like, that's just in China, that's not going to affect us. And I think in Hawaii, especially, we tend to have this like, oh, that's far away, that's not going to happen here. And then as cases started to rise up, we started to feel the sense of kind of anxiety and fear. And as time went on, maybe feelings of depression, feeling loneliness and isolation away from our ohana, away from our loved ones. And now we're in this place, you know, people are talking about reopening businesses, and there's this kind of mixed feeling about all of that. So I want to start there and kind of ask you guys, when we talk about resilience in a time like this, what does that mean for you? What comes up when you think about that term? Either Hiʻilani or Georgie.
All right, I can start. For me, as I was thinking about it just before we went on, resilience to me is understanding your boundaries and also understanding what you can offer, but also having the community in mind. One of the examples when I first thought about that question, what is resiliency, is I thought about one of the ohana in my classes and their mother. She has 7 children, and she feels that they have compromised immune systems. And so she really, really just shut down once everything happened. But in that, I saw her family just get stronger. And then she started to hold her own Zoom classes. And I thought that was really amazing and she got her family to be part of that. And I just think those little stories that isn't, about, these big kind of stories about resiliency, those little stories that we can identify in our own relationships, in our own pilina, that's what helps us as individuals and community members just keep going, and it's just identifying that in your pilina, in your connections. I think that's what I've been thinking about.
Yeah, totally. How about you, Georgie?
Yeah, I totally kakō what you just said, Hiʻilani, and that's a lot of what I've been thinking about and witnessing. I was thinking today about this mask making group that in the beginning I thought, well, okay, I guess we're gonna need this stuff. I thought it was making cloth mask, like, okay, I can't sew, what can I do? I'll just kind of watch. And then I realized, oh, well, our volunteers giving out food need help. And so I put in some requests, and I watched this masks for Hawaii group with Wendy Iwasaki just grow. And then we started, you start making friends through the group. And then she comes back around and says, do you folks still need masks? And I said, yes, they're giving them out to kupuna, because that's what our groups have been doing, not only feeding the kupuna and the families in need, but giving them masks, because they're homebound. They can't go out and get their own. So I love that kind of thing, and thinking about the people who resilience is about thinking of your strengths. It's a very strength-based concept, where you're not thinking who's going to save me, who's going to come and fix this for me. You're thinking, okay, what do I have to do? What can I do? What do I have in the kitchen that I can make stew for tonight or soup for tonight? And you just work with that. And that's how your approach to life is. And I'm so thrilled to see that our community has stepped up in that way. And the people with the least to give have been giving the most.
Yeah, I love that, because, sometimes it's easy to sort of get, like we were saying, with the emotions of this whole thing, to sort of spiral downward and feel like kind of helpless, right? And like frustrated and helpless and all of that. And I love what you're talking about people really feeling like, no, wait, there's something I can do. Even if it's something quote unquote small, it still can help other people in some way, shape, or form. What kind of things came up in the communities that you work with and live in that maybe you were surprised to see crop up, or maybe you were part of it and that kind of got you inspired and excited?
I had one story shared with me from Key Project that I think everybody will appreciate. Key Project has for 50 years served the community, over 50 years. And I don't know where we would be without it. But Li'i Duduwa leading this organization with so much heart and courage. And so they've been out there serving food and meals to families from day one of COVID. And so about a couple weeks ago, they're in their office and then they see two kupuna, a husband and wife out there raking leaves in their front yard. And when they go out to ask, you know, auntie, uncle, what are you doing? They say, oh no, we're just here to help because you're helping everybody. I mean, that's so beautiful. Like it struck Key Project staff deeply. It was so warm to receive that in return. And that's what this is all about. It's not about a $1 million check. It's about raking the leaves in the front yard.
Hiʻilani, I see you smiling.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. And that's what I'm so scared about, those kind of things going away. You know, that's the first thing I thought about when they announced that they're reopening places. That's one of the reasons I agreed to be on this, because I really want people to know we cannot stop doing those things, you know. I just want to share about what my ohana has been doing. So we have a very small place in Waiahole, and we really don't grow enough to sell anything or anything. We've really just been growing food for ourselves and to share with families. And so when everything started, I told them, okay, what can we share? You know, what do we have that we can share with others? And so what we decided as an ohana was that every week we have patches of kalo growing that is just for lau, because we can pick lau almost every week, and we can make a lot of luau or lau or whatever, and that's how we've been eating kalo, is more of the lau. So every week we pick, and we do it as a family, and we've been making these bouquet of lau, and then we decide as a family, who are we going to drop it off to? We don't even really tell them. We kind of just go and drop it off. And that's the fun for us. You know, that's the fun for us. We just go and we're like, here, have some lau. And then they're always like, you know, and they're so appreciative. But I just wanted to share that, because it's not because I want people to, you know, say, oh, good job or anything. We never had that intention. But I really am thankful to my children, because this week we didn't pick yet. And my daughter was like, we didn't pick yet, Mom. How come we haven't picked yet? You know, and it really, for me, reminded them, that no matter what, we all have abundance that we can share. And so I don't want that kind of stuff to stop.
Yeah, I love that drive-by drive-by good deeds. Yeah, someone, I don't know if she's on, Jennifer Barrett, but she saw a Facebook post I had about my daughters using nail polish to paint, because we just weren't prepared, you know, for kids to be home for this long. And she just came by my house and dropped off a bunch of paints and crayons and stuff. And I was like, wow. So I love those, like, just random acts of good that people are doing. Hiʻilani, we should have had an agreement, like no making each other cry on this, because you know, yeah, it brought tears to my eyes when you were talking about just being afraid that some of this stuff will go away. And I think that's why Georgie and I felt like such a good timing to do this today, because as businesses start to reopen and people want to get back to like normal, we're just a little worried that people won't stop to reflect on what did we learn from this time period. You know, one of the things I've been reflecting on, my mom teases me because I go to Ross. I don't know if my mom is watching right now, but I go to Ross a lot. It's right across my house. And she was teasing me. She's like, you must be so excited Ross is going to reopen. And I said, you know what? I've realized I don't need stuff. Like, you know what I mean? I've been filling my life with all this stuff and I just don't need as much stuff anymore. So that's one thing that I've been reflecting on. But what other things have kind of you been thinking about, or has it taken you back to like a simpler time in your life? Or what other reflections have the two of you been having?
We have a number of friends that have small farms, and they're interesting enough. Most of our friends that have small farms they really grow just to share, just because it's just too small, and we do other things too. So we have a friend, he just acquired land right before the COVID, new land, and it's a very interesting tract of land in Waialua. because there's like 40 acres of mango trees on this tract of land. And he has sheep, so he brought the sheep to the land really to, that's what he needed. He needed land for the sheep to go in and graze and do their thing. So we went out there and one of the things he did though, which I thought was amazing, and he's just a giver. He's such a giver. He's always giving us food and everything. He had made friends through his church with a homeless family, I like to call them houseless family. And what they did was him and his wife, they picked like 300 pounds of green mango and made pickle mango. And they made pickle mango to sell for this family. And I thought that that was just amazing. You know, they just did it. And they were all cut up, you know, like how the mango sap gets on you. I mean, and I was like, oh my gosh, are you guys okay? And everything like that. And on top of that, they're calling us because they want to give us other food that they have. And then it was perfect because we had the lao and they love lao. And then, you know, it's just, we do it already, but it like increased. And then I get inspired by them too, because they don't have much, but they're always thinking about others. And yeah, that was another one that came to mind.
What about you, Georgie?
Now I really want pickle mango, but I digress, you know. You know, that is such a beautiful thing, and not everybody has that gift of giving. Yeah, it is such a gift. And so we are all the ones that are blessed from that gift, to be around such a person. So that's such a beautiful story. I've been thinking a lot about the people who have lived experience, especially with seeing how frustrated people are trying to fill out applications for unemployment and whatnot, and thinking, wow, we have so many people who've gone through those systems before, and could they help them? Or, you know, are there other ways that we can use the lived experience within the community to help our neighbors navigate some of these systems in a real family, neighborhood kind of a way, right? And still with the blessing of the systems and not trying to get in the way of anybody. But I've been thinking about that. You know, there's a whole untapped army of people with lived experience that they don't even realize that they have value to give. And I think if they just were to be asked, or to be thought, you know, were offered the opportunity, they would be happy to give that lived experience and that expertise, because that's kind of what I see going forward. We've learned a lot that people in charge and smart people sometimes don't always have the answers, and that's okay. Nobody's perfect. So we gotta sometimes pull in all kinds of experts, and lived experience is a different kind of expertise. So I've been thinking a lot about that, and how we diversify our teams of people to really have the best possible Hawaii going forward. At every level and every which way. So I'm just excited about that, because, you know, I'm thinking about people like Ilimaho Lasimosa and Dr. Jane Chung-Do, who do incredible work in Waimanalo around public health and La'au and so much more. And I just want to, you know, talking about all these amazing people who kind of use their community skills to bring in so much knowledge and wealth. That's what it's all about. And that's what I'm excited for next.
Can I tag on to that? I'm really impressed with Waimanalo. They really came together to provide meals for their kupuna, which, you know, they always do that, I feel like, but they had some hiccups, but they worked through it. And that's resilience, right? And then the other one that I was impressed with, that I stumbled upon, was the Waimanalo Co-op did a Malama campaign these short videos of I Malama, how they Malama. And I thought that is an amazing way to give back to the community too, because many people don't realize that they Malama, they, like you said, right? They have skills that they can share. They just don't realize that they can share it, you know, or what is the venue and way for them to share it.
Yeah, absolutely. Also got to shout out Kealoha Domingo and Auntie Tammy Smith, you know, for their family meals and meals for kupuna. I mean, the list goes on with just all the amazing things. And I see a bunch of our nonprofit friends and community friends logged in today. So thank you for all you're doing for the community as well.
Yeah, and don't forget Mark and Amanda Noguchi, who have been incredible through this, like, and always with a smile. Like,
yes. And then it gets dangerous, right? When you start naming, because then you're like, you don't want to miss anybody. Yeah. Okay, so I want to point something out. So as we did have another panelist scheduled, but unfortunately Andrew couldn't make it. But if you, as you noticed, tonight we have a Wahine panel of Native Hawaiians. So grateful to have you, Hiʻilani and Georgie. I want to ask you guys, what role does Hawaiian culture and our values play in resilience, right? Because as Hawaiians, we know we have so much to draw upon in our history and culture of, let's face it, a lot of stressful and disruptive situations that impact our communities all the time. And, you know, the stories and the, like you're saying, the strengths and the assets that have come forward to, you know, overcome those things. So, you know, Makana also just chatted us. She said she hopes we don't lose aloha, you know, hugging people and giving them honey. So tell me, you know, how our culture and how our values as an island community can help be an asset in this time.
well, I'm gonna go first because Hiʻilani's gonna drop the hammer on this, so I'll drop the mic afterwards. So I will start. I think of it like the lived experience. It's very much an innate sense in us. We have those indigenous skills and those gifts in us. It's just, how do we tap into it? And I'm much farther than a lot of other Hawaiians, or maybe not, but you know, just, it is just like that lived experience. Like, how do we find the right venue, the right way to help it come out? But that's what our Hawaiian people were resilient. They are resilient. We've been here and we survived. We know how to thrive here. So I think that really much comes into play as we think about what Hawaii looks like going forward. We have to know what it looked like before, when it was absolutely sustainable.
So there is a Aina Aloha Declaration that just came out. I'm not really sure if she's the exact leader, but Dr. Noi Wong Wilson is sort of, I think she is the alaka'i of it. But it's a declaration that you can find through the Hui Oihana, which is the Hawaii Island Native Hawaiian Chamber of Commerce, as well as through Auntie Noi as well and all that. But they put out guidelines that are entrenched with our Hawaiian ike, our ike kupuna, and everything, because they meeting, you know, all of these leaders, especially of Hawaii Island, about like, oh, you know, how can we make a difference? How can we influence, the economy with this opportunity? And then they realized, they said that they didn't even have guidelines, you know, so they got together, and it's beautiful. When I got to attend a Zoom about it just the other day, and it was brought up, right? Because Aina Aloha sounds like Aloha Aina. Whereas in Aloha Aina, in our culture, right, that's like a rally call for ku'e and all that kind of stuff. And so Auntie said, that's why we said Aina Aloha, because it's a place first. And it really spoke to me, because the reason I work with the Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association and in the visitor industry, having some type of influence in a seat at the table with these decision makers in the visitor industry is because of Dr. George Kanhele. And his whole thing when he was doing his whole mission with the visitor industry was placed first. And if anything, that's what we learned really in this this pause that our Aina has given us, you know, in this time. This pause, seeing all the things, kiloing, right? Kilo, all the things around us that is saying, oh my gosh, look, I can thrive now that there isn't these boats and all these kind of things, you know? So in their declaration, Aina Aloha is about, oh great, mahalos. Malia Saunders with Naha is actually sharing the Aloha Aina, kalamai. Aina Aloha. See, I have to even be careful when I say Aina Aloha declaration, because we have to put our Aina first. And that is really where we can draw from our culture. Is our culture is all about the Aina first. And when I say Aina, right, we know that it's everything that feeds us. It's not only just land, right? It's the ocean, it's everything. It's the air, it's the sun, it's the rain, it's everything that feeds us. And when we feed, it means that it sustains us, right? So it's not only the physical food, but it's all of that ike and all of that spiritual energy and all the mana from everything around us. One of the other things that I love about their declaration is the opuali'i. So that's the second part of their declaration. And opuali'i, a lot of people talk about it, but it's something really hard for people to understand, especially those in leadership positions, because opuali'i in our Hawaiian culture is really about what a leader represents. And a leader doesn't mean that you're above everybody. A leader is someone who has an opu, a stomach that is so big, because they know that their kuleana is to take care of not only all the people that live on the Aina, but the Aina itself too, and everything else. And so to have an opu ali'i is so hard. And when our elected officials get into office in this system, that is not something that they're taught or even understand. And so that's one of the other things I thought about, is how we can going forward, is that our elected officials may get some type of training about these concepts, these leadership concepts of before. I don't know if that, you know, I'm not sure about that, but I'm going to just put it out there.
I love that. And I see a bunch of people going, whoop, preach in the chat. So yeah, you're right on, Hi'ilani. I agree. I think, you know, I work with different leaders in organizations, and I've seen some interesting responses to this whole situation. Some are practicing that opuali'i, you know, just real deep sense of care and malama for their people. And then others have been really focused on kind of the bottom line, and you know, people kind of are just numbers to that equation. So I love what you're saying about the leader's role really to serve and to help kind of from behind or below to support their people. Georgie, did you want to add anything to that?
No, that was just beautiful. And I think we're at the perfect pivot point in our community, in our state, in our world, to start having those conversations. The only part is that everyone is so busy. To get people's attention is difficult, but now is the time to do this, because that was so beautiful. And if we can take that ike from all of those amazingly wise kupuna who put that together, I think that would be an amazing way to weave the two pathways together and start co-creating in a really meaningful way. So that, I just really love that idea. We're at the next layer, the next level, right? We're at the next level, and so the next level is going to demand another part of us to stand up and be ready. So I think that's what our leaders are going to need as well.
Yeah, and you know, Georgie, you and I were talking about how like we're still going through change. Like my grandma used to always say, there's seasons, right? We're going through another season. And so it's not, even when people talk about going back to normal, there's no normal anymore. It's a new now normal. So those skills, those strengths, the things we've learned, the things our kupuna keep telling us are the values that ground us, those have to be the things going forward. We cannot just say, well, this was good for this time period and now let's get back to normal. Hiʻilani, I wanted to ask you a question because you are an educator and you're also in the tourism industry. And those are two industries that have been really impacted by this. So have you seen stories, or what have you seen in terms of those industries? You can pick either one or talk about both, but their response and their ability to be resilient during this time.
Sorry, I didn't catch that complete thing. What did you say? Who, the stories from education or from the industry?
Yeah, well, from both, like because you're in the education field and the tourist industry. You could just talk about one if you want, but curious about what you've seen and the ways that they've adapted and been resilient during this time.
So in the education, hope, you know, to all the teachers, and I'm not just tooting my horn, it's just that you do not become a teacher to get rich, for sure. People who are in the education field, especially teachers in general, even at the college level, because I teach a college class as well, everybody has just been trying to make sure that none of their students lose any skill building, you know. And I mean, it's just been amazing. It's you know, we attend and then they're sharing it out, you know. You have these networks that have been built by teachers for teachers, and they've been sharing. And so it's like, I don't have enough time to go on every Zoom I want to go on, you know, because everybody's doing amazing things. And then also the support, right? You have all of these supporting agencies, Kamehameha Schools, Chelsea's, Lili Okalani Trust. I mean, all of them have been putting out this great stuff, all these nonprofits. I mean, they just keep doing, they just rose to a higher level in already what they do on a daily level. And it's a shout out. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week. And but everybody, I feel like everybody's a teacher. And so we should all be just saying mahalo to each other, you know. Now in the visitor industry, this is an interesting thing, right? People don't realize that most of the marketing people, the people that market Hawaii out, now they're the ones that having to actually monitor the tourists that come, the visitors. People don't realize that. And anybody I tell, you know what? Now these marketing people, they love Hawaii so much. That's why they're in the industry, because they want to make sure that our Hawaii is taken care of appropriately. And now they're the front line. And I want to shout out to them, Hawaii Visitors and Conventions Bureau, all the different volunteers from hotels and tour companies. All of these people that are in the industry are now the ones on the front line actually monitoring. And they're dying, they're suffering. Many of my friends I reach out to, they're having a hard time because it's really a hard job to do. So I'm really thankful. The other part of it too is that all of the people that I work with, they are really trying their hardest to brainstorm about how we can keep our natural resources okay, take care of our people, because honestly, Hawaii, the Aina calls these tourists. People don't realize that yeah, you can market all you want, but the marketing is just gravy. People come to Hawaii because the Aina calls them. And so what we have to do now is, okay, you're coming here because the Aina called you, but this is how you need to behave when you're here. That's really where we need to go next. And that's the hardest part. How do we do that with aloha and grace? When we see already that there's a lot of people not even respecting us, saying that we're closed, you know? It's a really hard balance, but I shout out to all of the people in our industry that are local people in the industry, because they really love Hawaii and that's why they work in it. That's why they're there, because they want to make a difference from within. Yeah. And you know what, the other thing that I thought was really interesting, and I'm not sure how it's working, but the hotels that opened up for the houseless people, I thought that was an interesting program. I don't know much about it, but I thought that was really cool. And they're getting maid service. I mean, not maid, what is it called? Housekeeping service, which I thought was like, wow, that's amazing. That's another thing. And then the lights, I thought that was cool from the very beginning. The lights on the hotels, giving us some aloha, you know, with the hearts and all that kind of stuff. I thought, wow, that's what they try and do, right? Yeah, that's what I see. And that's also another reason why I hope it doesn't end. You know, it's hard. Honestly, I was in traffic today, coming from Waiahole, coming to my husband's grandfather's house. And I thought, oh no, because I started getting those like anxious feelings again.
Road rage. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, because that's, especially on the visitor industry side, I think that's a perspective we don't normally hear. So mahalo for kind of giving us some insight. And you're right, it was interesting to see hotels pivot, even with housing the nurses and medical professionals who needed places to stay. Yeah, Georgie, how about you? You're in the funding philanthropic community or industry. What ways have you seen the industry sort of pivot with COVID-19?
Well, I you know, immediately the nonprofit funding sector, funding partners really kind of came together quickly to start coordinating and figuring out the best ways that we could divide and conquer, so to speak, and help our communities in need. So there was a lot of coordination. There's still a lot of coordination going on, and so that is everything from foundations to private philanthropists, individual anonymous donors. It's just all kinds of people in that mix, and including Kamehameha Schools and the Kuʻulani Trust and Hawaii Community Foundation at the table. And through that, I think we see some great innovations coming up. You know, we were able to reach further through some of the feeding programs and work out through some of the digital technology needs, which still are not all met for all families, and just trying to make sure that we're all connected and on the same page. For the nonprofit sector overall, well, Windward Oahu, first of all, I think a lot of our grantees seem to be in fairly good shape for the Castle Foundation, and not completely, but most of them were in good shape. I think because we have layers of funding available in the region, our people are fairly secure, so there were minimal layoffs. But the broader sector in Hawaii, there were some layoffs, but nowhere near what the travel industry or some of the other restaurants and hard-hit industries felt. I think we were spared for the most part because our funding comes, the sector's funding comes from different areas, you know, from private sources like our foundation and others. So there was a lot more flexibility. The biggest scare for the nonprofits was really around the lack of communication from the government agencies where they were being contracted from. And so whether it be ANA or you know, the feds, the state, the county, whatever it was, there was a good period of time where there was no communication because there were no answers. So that was very scary for many people, I think. Hawaii, as many people saw in the news, Hawaii got a good share of CARES Act funding, and that includes Hawaii nonprofits for the most part. We had a number of nonprofit funding partners that were that did do technical assistance for nonprofits to make sure that the CARES funding was filled out and executed properly so that people could receive all of the dollars appropriate, or that they would be eligible for. Other than that, I think we're really excited to see these new partnerships, you know, and maybe this is one of the things that could continue, is what we're thinking is that, you know, some of these collaboration meetings could continue There was a switchboard, Kukulu switchboard that was set up. Maybe someone can throw that link up in the chat box, because I'm sure someone here has that link to Kukulu switchboard. And that's been a great resource that the funding community put together. A lot of hard work by Keone Lee at HIR, Hawaii Investment Ready, as well as Ashley Lukens of the Frost Foundation and Lisa Maruyama at Hano, Hawaii Alliance of Nonprofit Organizations, and tons of other people. But we're very grateful for that opportunity. Nonprofits can go on there, say what their needs are, and then the funders can go in and see directly fund those needs, those projects through the switchboard. So it's a little matching service. So that's really what we've been seeing, a lot of collaboration, a lot of opportunity, tons of barriers, but there's always ways around them. And so just way more phone calls and text messages than normal. That's for sure. I think I did maybe 200% my normal plan rate.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you're saying too about the collaborations and partnerships coming together. You know, it's interesting, right? Like I love the quote, necessity is the mother of innovation. Yep. And sometimes it's like, because you don't have the things you can rely on, you sort of get pushed to really do the things that you probably should have done anyway. I've been seeing more things, like recently the Hawaii Supreme Court did their oral arguments online, and first ever. And I had a friend who lives on Molokai was like, can we please do this now? Because now we can't unsee this. We just saw, I think OHA held its board meeting online virtually today. So, I love that this has also sparked innovation in those ways of people using virtual to connect and also be more inclusive. So things that might have just been for Oahu now can be broadcast to everybody in the state.
Absolutely. Well, that we did a little trial. I helped out with a little trial, Kaneohe Neighborhood Board talk story session, and they loved it. They had so many people show up, and so the board is mostly boomers, but they really want to stay like that. They're interested. So there may be some ways that we can integrate or do a hybrid, and it really was more inclusive in a lot of ways. So I really think you're onto something.
Yeah, Hiʻilani's laughing. Did you want to add, Hiʻilani?
What's really cool, right, is that if we can do more Zoom, like a combination, we actually lessen our carbon footprint, right? So that's also that's that whole thing that's coming up. We're learning those ways of lessening the carbon footprint, and it's actually more inclusive, which is so wonderful. So I'm excited. And actually at this point, I wanted to say that with the Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association, Malia is actually our main administrator. She's on with us. Next week, we're holding talks, well, not really talk story, but it's sessions with me, an hour long, and we're focusing on those that are out of work with the visitor industry, but it's actually open to anybody. We're gonna look at those concepts, those opuali'i, aloha, ho'okipa, and talk about it only for an hour. And so if anybody's interested, they can actually email malia@naha.com, NAHHA.com. So Malia. So if you're interested, it's free. You can come on. It's only for an hour. But we have a number of them lined up next week, and then probably more the next week. So anyway, it's another way of just being part of the solution, part of the brainstorming, and not just, grumbling.
Thank you. I'm going to tune in. That sounds really good. So we're about at 5:15, and I don't want to lose out on hearing from our audience, our friends here. So I want to open it up now for any questions or comments you want to make to our panel here.
So if you would please just unmute your mic whenever you have a question, that would be great. Thank you.
We had a good lively chat going on. A lot of good resources there. Any questions, anybody?
I'm gonna do a quick plug while we're waiting for a question, because I'm on the Epic Ohana board, and yay Epic. I see Lori was in on the Zoom here today, but Epic Ohana did a youth town hall meeting pretty early on in this COVID crisis, and it was so good. So they're on their website. You can see the video. So if you're in the youth space, go check it out. Even if you're not, their Zoom skills are pretty impressive. So.
Very cool. Okay, so if there's no questions right now, I'd like to show you.
One.
Oh, go ahead.
This is Uncle Joe Reka.
Aloha, Uncle Joe.
I'm trying to get the camera on, but it's not going on. But that's okay.
You have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to find out. Well, first of all, to addressing Hiʻilani's comment about the Zoom meetings, getting rid of the carbon footprint. As a person that uses part of that carbon footprint in what I do in Waikiki, I miss putting my little, well, actually my size 12 footprints in Waikiki. I do miss that. And I think that's what Hawaii is. It's a touchy, feely, honey, hug, embracing kind of a culture. And I miss that. I love my wife, but it's getting to the point where we're in our 70s and being married almost 50 years. We're at a point where we love each other, but we got to be apart for a while. But I just wanted to address that to Hiʻilani, and I love you. That's all I have to say.
Mahalo, Uncle Joe. Hiʻilani's cracking up. I want to hear what she's cracking up about.
Well, Uncle Joe is actually also with the Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association, and I miss him being his foots in Waikiki, because he is really the foremost kupuna and knowledge, everything for Waikiki. And his ike and his mana'o coming into this huliao is really important. So mahalo, Uncle Joe, for coming onto the to the Zoom and for sharing your ike. We're gonna actually, you know what? I think that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna try and make sure that I can get Uncle Joe on a Zoom to share his ike about Waikiki. I think that's our next mission.
Yes.
Let's do that. How can we do that to get all the kupuna on Zoom? Because that's what Auntie Pua Burgess said. I heard somebody told me that Auntie Pua said that kupuna need to be on Zoom because they need to be a part of the conversation. And if the conversation is moving to Zoom, they need to be there. So please, yeah, let's bring the kupuna with us to Zoom.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even if it means you got to finagle it. So my daughter had a 7-year-old, her 7th birthday the other day, and we sent the Zoom link out to the family. So everybody kind of got it on Zoom except my in-laws. And they know how to use FaceTime. They have FaceTime set up, but they don't know how to get onto Zoom. So we're trying to go 20 minutes on the phone trying to explain Zoom. Finally, I was like, you know what? Just stay on FaceTime. And then we just angled the phone, you know, to show them what was going on. And we played a scavenger hunt. They're like, we can't see the list. Sure, turn the computer. You know, it was really cute. But that's today's day and age. Yeah. Okay. So if we don't have any other question, well, we still have some time, but I wanted to show you guys a short video. So my younger sister, she's at UH West Oahu, and she's taking a class. It's a documentary arts masterclass, and she had a final project. It was supposed to be a short documentary, something related to COVID-19. And so she and her classmate, Cassidy Patmont, so my sister's name is Rebecca Miyashiro, shout out to Rebecca. They created this short video interviewing our family and a couple of other people in the community about what they're doing and how they are being resilient and what they called pandemicking in Hawaii. So it's just a short 6-minute video, and I wanted you guys to watch it. So Brian, if you could cue that up.
I apologize, I'm having some technical difficulty here. One moment, please.
No problem.
Well, while he's doing that, there was something in the chat, Ku'u, that says Debbie Gianardini for their seniors on how to use Zoom.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, so for any kupuna, or not just kupuna, but folks who maybe are not as tech savvy, we do know somebody in the community, Debbie Gianardini, that teaches how to use Zoom, as well as Makana Chai, who I think is on the call as well. So feel free to reach out to them. Brian, it's a little bit too zoomed in and we can't hear the audio. So while he's getting that queued up, any other comments or questions from our audience? Oh, and also, yeah, go ahead.
Aloha, everyone. This is so, what a wonderful conversation to be a part of and listen. Thank you so much. I'm a relative newer on Maui, and I'm in learning mode. And I'm wondering, when you were speaking about a new era for the visitor and hospitality industry, I've been thinking a lot about wondering if there's talk of maybe shifting to more of an ecotourism kind of approach, so that visitors are being educated not only on their way here, but while they're visiting, and then maybe take that new learning back to wherever they come from, and that they're treating the land and the environment here with more respect and more love, frankly. And so I'm just wondering if there's talk of that in the hospitality industry.
Well, in actuality, that's, if you go to the Hawaii Tourism Authority new strategic plan that was just posted right before the COVID thing hit, that is actually the direction, is the natural resources became the focal point of that strategic plan, because the industry itself, people in the industry understood, not only those that don't see themselves in it, they understood that we were above capacity with people coming at 30,000 people a day. The other beautiful thing is that the ecotourism part is really, really supported. And there's a number of, well, there's that one there's two organizations actually that the ecotours all get certified, and they take classes, and all of their staff are really, really committed to making sure that the visitor not only learns about our ecosystem, but does it with respect and aloha. And they all of them really also tell them to go back and make sure that you do that there too. So yes, mahalo for that, because that is a big part of the industry already, and it's probably what's going to happen, is going to continue as well. So mahalo. I'm glad that you're thinking like that.
Mahalo to you as well. Thank you.
That's a really good question. Okay, I want to ask if everybody can see the video up on your screen, and I'm just going to play it. If Hiʻilani or Georgie, if you can give me a thumbs up, I hope you can hear the audio and play it.
Pandemicking. Where did the mic? hard with school, but we're already homeschooling one of our children. So our other one will be really easy to start homeschooling them as well. You can donate food, donate blood, and donate medical equipment. Those are real critical needs of areas of need right now.
You can just go and buy some, give it to someone in need. Don't take a bag if you're going to keep it and use it as a grocery bag, but rather use this bag to fill it up and pass it on and do a kind of a pay it forward thing.
I have a company called Hawaiʻi Happy Hours, and basically I've used my social media platform to help out the restaurants and bars, trying to get their info out there for what people can do to find out about takeout menus, delivery, what special food or pricing there may be from the restaurant. And I'm also going as far as changing my website, which is a directory of all the happy hours in Hawaii, to reflect showing them where to go, what places have the menus. So that way it's one spot that everybody in Hawaii can go to find out about the places to eat and drink and deliver, and that hopefully will help local businesses survive through this hard time.
So I found these patterns and I started sewing, and I realized that me by myself was not going to make a lot of masks. I wasn't going to be able to accomplish a lot. So I decided to go ahead and post on the nextdoor.com site for people in my neighborhood to ask them if they wouldn't mind helping to sew masks. And to my surprise, there was 80 people that responded and said they had fabric, they had elastic, and they'd be willing to help me.
Kuʻulani Keohokalole works from home as the owner of the consulting firm People Strategies Hawaiʻi. The Kaneohe mother released a video online with tips on working from home with kids during the COVID-19 crisis.
I've been creating webinars, creating short, quick tips videos, downloadable resources, templates, tools that people can use. Just providing guidance and advice to leaders, to people who are working remotely, and doing most of that pro bono just to help the community out.
I'm actually kind of miss like the peacefulness of this whole thing, you know? Like I know there's chaos in other places, but for us here where we are on the Windward side and being able to work at the ranch and living in this area, it's been a simpler life. Take my kids to the beach, go fishing sometimes at night. We have some projects there at home. It does kind of remind you of a simpler time.
There's always some good that comes out of situations, and I think being isolated and having to practice social distancing, I think we appreciate our relationships more, our friends, our families. Honestly, it's just been, allowing myself time, like downtime to myself, just things that kind of take the stress out, and just, knowing like no day is going to be perfect. Some days are busier than others, and some days I just take time away from my work to just spend time with my kids, and that kind of gives me that renewed, energy to do other things. If you've got something that you can share and teach other people, do it.
I'm Doug Sanchez, Special Events Manager here at Kuʻulani Ranch, Hawaii.
I'm Wendy Assam, the Bookkeeper Manager of Guest Relations and Quality Assurance at Kuʻulani Ranch, Hawaii.
I'm Ryan Borman. I'm the Sales Manager of the Kuʻulani Ranch. I'm Georgianna DeCosta. I'm the State Senator for Kaneohe.
I'm Kuʻulani Keohokalole, and I'm the owner of People Strategies Hawaii.
And I'm a social worker with Hawaiian Hospice.
Sorry. All right. Well, sorry, I did not mean for that to be a family promo video. My sister, it was her project, and she just, she lives with me, so we were convenient. Anyway, with that, I know we're at 5:30. Georgie and Hiʻilani, is there any last final words or takeaways you want to share?
My two thoughts for everyone to take away are first, to embrace the gray, because the world is not black or white. It's a whole lot of shades of gray. And second is really to be brave. Don't be afraid right now. You stick together. I think that's really what it is. We're not in this alone. I know sometimes that we're going to feel lonely, and I have too through this, but we're not alone. So embrace the gray and remember you're not alone. Mahalo.
My closing thoughts, and Georgie's talk, last thoughts made me remind me of it, is that one of the things that I was conscious about was all of my friends and families that were alone in this. Many of us have big families, but there are many that are alone. And so if anything, I want you after this to go and just give them a call. You know, I know we can't go and visit them and give them hugs and stuff, but a call and just saying aloha to them, I think matters. And that's one of the things that we can do, and keep in touch with them, you know, just out of the blue, just keep calling them and making sure that they're happy, you know, keeping that pilina, and we can still do it even if we can't give a honi. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, the Hawaii way. Thank you to Georgie, thank you Hiʻilani, mahalo nui to all of you who logged in either through Zoom or through Facebook. I am so honored and grateful to have had this wonderful discussion with both of you. So mahalo. Real quick, next Friday, so I'm trying to do one every week. We'll see how long I can do this, but next Friday, we're going to be talking about funding community impact for transformational change. And I'll have Jennifer Oyer from Community Impact Advisors on with me. So hope you can tune in for that. Mahalo nui, everyone, and have a great Mother's Day weekend.
Aloha.
Aloha. Aloha, mahalo.